Welcome to Doug's Open Mic, a podcast spotlighting local musicians, bands, and songwriters.
Greetings, everyone. This is Doug's Open Mic. This is episode number 1. So be aware there might be a couple rough edges here and there. With me today, I have my technical guy, Ben Barber, who is been told that he is more than welcome to add comments and questions to our main guest, which is Gene Parise. Gene's a longtime Westerly musician. Actually, let me back up a little bit and tell you what the show is going to be, since this is episode number 1. This is episode number 1, and it's going to be called Doug's Open Mic. And what we're going to be concentrating on is basically acoustical music in the southeastern Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island area. We're going to be talking to local musicians, songwriters. We're going to have some technical shows on guitars and stringing and open tunings. We're going to talk about different types of mics and amplifiers. We're going to talk some of the historical musical stuff in Westerly, which has got all sorts of stuff, most notably the Knickerbocker. We will go down that road. Also, we're going to be talking a lot about, for lack of a better term, making the sausage. Basically, what goes on in the music scene that, if you're just going out to a club or a show or a bar and watching musicians, kind of what went into making that show. It's not quite as easy as you might think. Lastly, I'm planning on a couple shows basically talking about people that I'm going to call it couch to stage. I'll probably change it, but for now I'm going to call it couch to stage. For those people who, they've been playing guitar on their couch and everything like that, and they want to kind of start making the next steps. So basically, what the steps would be to, go from the couch to the stage. I mean, there's a few, but I would encourage anybody, if they want to do it, to do it. It's, there's just baby steps. If you just take one at a time, and you'd be surprised. Listen, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So, without further ado, we'll introduce Gene. Hi, hello. Gene. How are you?
Doing good.
I have known Gene, how long do you think? 15 years? Back in the original, when was the original Perks and Corks?
Yeah, I would say about 12 years.
About 12 years.
Yep.
So for those, again, I got to remember that I'm talking to a lot of people that aren't familiar with the Westerly area. So when I think of it, I will kind of fill that in. Perks and Corks is a bar that's been down in Westerly for, like Gene said, 12, 15 years. It's always been a super good place for acoustical music. They have music there 6 days a week now?
6 nights a week. Yes.
6 nights a week. They have an open mic there on Monday, which we're going to talk to Gene about at length further on. And it's just a really good place to go. Known for their martinis. They make a whole ton of martinis. And it's right on High Street, right in the center of Westerly. So I've known Gene for a long time. Met him at Perks. And there we go. So, Gene, I thought maybe we'd do it historically. So, you've been playing music a long time. Even when I met you, you've been playing a long time. When did you start?
I started at 10 years old. I was in 4th grade.
No kidding.
My teacher was from Pawcatuck, Connecticut, Mr. Greeley. Big classic old home where they had the kitchen and extra living space in the basement, like a lot of Italian-American families in the area do. And my mother would drop me off, and I'd walk in there with my little guitar, which was left-handed.
Left-handed, yep.
Purchased at Shea's Office Supplies.
Oh, no kidding.
Charlie Shea was a musician. And at that time in Westerly, in the early 1960s, the only place to buy sheet music, a music stand, guitar strings was at Shea's Office Supplies.
Kidding.
Yeah.
So that before Rossi's Music?
I don't know if Rossi's Music was around in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they would be
Right.
the number one guy people, but
Yeah, and it's a very charming memory how I learned with him. It's a whole story in itself. So, and the only mistake was he taught me left-handed from the beginning. Just this natural progress of you're left-handed, so we got to make your guitar left-handed, and we turned the strings around. In hindsight, any young person taking up an instrument, if you're left-handed or left-handed, just learn right-handed. It's much easier in the world of to get an instrument and pick up any guitar. There's no reason to have to learn left-handed. Yeah.
Really? See,
Yep. None. Yeah.
I beg to differ. Well, because for those, I'll just be blunt about it. I've had
It's
it.
okay.
No, because I had some problems with so I'm a right-handed guy. So my left-handed. So I play guitar, and so my left hand is my fretting hand. And I had a little accident a few years ago, and my left hand is a little bit impaired these days. Right. So I had this great idea. He said, "You know what? I'm going to switch."
It would be tough for you now.
I'm
Right.
going to switch. I'll use my right hand as my fretting hand, and then my left hand I can just needs to hold a pick. Yeah. So that'll be better, but. I talk to somebody and go, but your all your rhythm is in your right hand. So you would have your rhythm would never be as good.
Yeah.
Because he goes like you're dancing and everything. Your brain, all your rhythm is in your right side.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he said, don't do it. It was not going to work. So that's why I beg to differ. Maybe they can. Maybe you do have to, if you're left-handed, you have to go left-handed. I do remember, the whole left-handed guitar thing.
Yep.
Again, Gene, over the years, I was like, whenever he buys a guitar, he has to, pay extra money because there's not as many around.
I'll tell you the biggest thing growing up that I missed that is just a simple little pleasure that. If you weren't left-handed, you could go to anybody's house or show up and a band person says, why don't you sit in and play a song with us? You could try other guitars. What's it like to play the Stratocaster, to play the Les Paul? When you're left-handed, especially back then, nobody had a left-handed guitar stocked on the wall. Everything was special order. So you could never pick up a guitar anywhere. So I was actually forced to learn to play some things upside down, which I can do. I can play most of my dominant chords backwards on a right-handed guitar. Yeah.
So one time, just kind of the sort of thing that Gene was playing with Sarah Gooden down in Perks, and they saw me there and said, "Come on up and play a song." Wouldn't you know it? They were both left-handed. I couldn't play. Right. There was two left-handed
that
guitars
was unusual,
there.
Right?
it was like. How did that happen?
Yeah,
but so that's the opposite of
yep.
that. So you started when you're 10. So you really did the whole thing as you grew up. You did. I know the whole wedding band thing and the rock.
I was in a general business band for about 15 years. Yep. It was well known locally, and we really thrived. It was quite an experience. Yeah.
What is a general business band?
General business means you're not playing originals. You're covering music for entertainment. Different from a bar band in that the general business band plays the whole scope of things from wedding material to polkas to classic to a Frank Sinatra song to a rock and roll song, so that you can entertain a wide audience, mostly, parties and weddings and banquets, and where at a nightclub, the band is more focused usually on one style. They're a blues band or a southern rock band. General business means you cover, a broader base, for general entertainment. Yeah. They interchange a lot. Wedding band, general business band, very similar beasts. Yeah.
So back in the day, and a lot of people don't know this, but so you were doing the band and working a regular full-time job.
Yes. But
since it's been a long time, back in the 70s and 80s, you could actually, if you were a musician, let's just say with a skill level of 7 or 8, you didn't have to be a 9 or a 10.
Right.
If you could actually kind of make a living just playing music, But these days, musicians haven't had a raise since about 2005.
There's reasons for that.
Yeah.
Music is affordable more than ever and accessible in such easy ways. And technologies can make music sound like full bands with looping.
Yep.
And drum machines. And so it's just, it's a different era. It's a different time. Also, I don't think music is as core to the culture, as a common culture as it was then, where we all listened to the same 3 radio stations, and that was it. One out of New York, one out of Providence, and everybody listened to those radio stations. And on those radio stations back in that era, you went from a Dionne Warwick song to a Steppenwolf song, from the Beatles to possibly a Frank Sinatra song doing Strangers in the Night. So you were exposed to a whole palette of American music that I don't think we get today. And the radio is a thing that's no longer there the way it used to be. It was very core to the culture, So it doesn't have the same value, the live music, to a large enough audience, I believe. Yeah.
And again, as Gene said, as time went on and basically what the people would pay for music stayed the same, and and the cost of living went up. Again, that kind of made bands smaller. All of a sudden, if you were only getting X amount of money and you had 5 guys, all of a sudden the money kept, after a while you go, well, maybe we can get away with 4. Maybe we can get away with 3, and so.
Most performing musicians, you have to look at it as a hobby with a little bit of income.
Yeah.
Unless there's a whole different thing. It breaks into 2 parts. You have someone doing the covers like I might do, but a passionate original songwriter. There are some of those that are surviving just on their music.
Yeah, and God bless them.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not
No, it's
easy.
not. And they work and they tour hard, and it's not an easy life. No.
No. Yep. And the whole touring thing, everybody thinks that's kind of fun. It's not. It's not.
Yep.
And then there's a lot of people that switch and do both. So
Right.
they'll be the
Right.
the singer-songwriter and work on their original music,
Right.
and
Yep.
or their original band, and
Right.
then everybody has a bunch of side projects.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that's the best way, and we'll get into that in making the sausage. If you are an original guy, the way to kind of break into it is you get good at playing covers, and then when you're playing out, you sprinkle in a few originals,
Yeah.
and then and eventually, if you get a good enough fan base, they actually start thinking of those originals as they'll come back, and you just start doing more and more of them. But it's a long road.
Yeah.
It's a long road,
And
but
sadly, it's a needle in a haystack, the original person that does become successful. For the thousands that are trying to do it, it's harder than ever, I believe.
yeah. In Westerly, we have a couple. We have Mark Bernardo, who's very good.
Mark Bernardo.
Yeah. He plays up. If you ever see him coming down, go down and see him at Perks. He usually, he lives in the area, and Perks is kind of like his home base.
He's hardworking.
He's
traveling
hardworking.
all the time from Texas to Washington to Maryland, back to Westerly. He lives solely on his music. Plus, besides his solo stuff, him and his brother are part of a larger band called the Desperados, and they perform and tour also. Yep.
Yeah. And they actually open up for the Doobie Brothers on occasion.
The Doobie Brothers, the Marshall Tucker Band, the
Oh, the Marshall
Pusette
Tucker.
Dart Band.
I didn't know the
different
Marshall
ones.
Tucker band was still around.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, God, they must have a ball. I mean, when things are going good with the music thing, it is fun. There's no doubt about it. But and again, like Gene says, we know a few what I call professional ones, which make their whole livelihood. I mean, there's Mark Bernardo around here. There's Dan Stevens.
He's the other one, right?
He's
Full time.
Full time. Craig Edwards, another full time guy. I'm thinking, anybody else off the top of my head? I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. There's others, but they're great. And so go back in the band side. So I do miss the big 5-piece bands or the bands with the horn sections,
The
and all
nightclub
that.
bands, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I those are something.
Right.
But, I mean, they're still somewhat around.
Still somewhat around, yeah.
Yep, they're still somewhat around. All right, so those were the early years. You know, and then I will call them the middle years is kind of when I kind of ran into you down at Perks.
Yep.
Back in those Wheelhouse. That's what I remember.
Yeah, well,
Tell us about Wheelhouse. Wheelhouse is one of my all time. How's Miss Amy doing?
I'm not sure at the moment.
Well, she's
yeah.
hard to keep track of.
That's a very cool story. Unfortunately, I'd hate to do this on a podcast when we're trying to get edification and some good stuff. In a nutshell, a lot of things in a happenstance way crashed in my life. Leading up to the big recession, the depression we had. So I had idle time. Everything changed in the career and what I did most of my life. And I started going downtown and stumbled onto Perks and Corks and started loving the music. I met Dan Stevens there early on, and I would go down. And I met Amy one evening. She was watching me play with somebody and walked by and gave me a slap on the shoulder and said, "You're a funny guy," you know that, in her Alabama voice, because she's from deep south. Who is this woman? And I saw her watching me. And a few times I go back to Perks, she sits up next to me and we become friends and we start talking, and she never lets on to her prodigious talent. And one night she takes her finger and swirls it around the countertop and says, "We could do this." And I go, "What's this?" "I'll do some songs." Okay, and she picked me. She wanted me to do this with her. Little did I know, and as you know, she's a force locally.
Oh, God,
amazing.
I call her Janis Joplin reincarnated.
Yeah,
and there's Amy A and there's Amy B. Amy A is the one you kind of
right.
talk to at the peg. It's like, well, when she's up on stage and she gets, oh my God.
Yeah. So I feel very blessed. And what happened was, we had no place to really practice because of her living situation. And Brian, the owner of Perks, said, "Come over here every Wednesday." They had no music then. And we'd go sit in the back on a couple of the couches with my acoustic guitar, and we started doing songs. And over the next few weeks, people started hanging out, bringing their drinks, sitting around us, and we were magnetizing people. It was incredible. And one day Brian says, "You're going to play?" And we played. And the way we came up with the name Wheelhouse, I'm a big baseball fan, and as a term, when something's in the wheelhouse, it's at a sweet spot. Like if a baseball player hits a ball perfectly for a home run, they go, "That pitch was right in his wheelhouse." And we found the key to a song, and she was singing it, and I went, "Wow, Amy, that was amazing. That was right in your wheelhouse." And she goes, "There's a name for the band." So and that's how it began. And we started to play there every Tuesday. We met Carl Franklin, who's a friend as a trio.
Super guy.
Trio, yep.
London. Yep.
And we played for the next 6 months at Perks and Corks on a Tuesday night, the deadest night in downtown Westerly, every Tuesday. And it was tribal. We had a following, and they came, and we packed that place every week out onto the sidewalk. And there were crazy nights and people sitting in, and it's one of the most special memories of my life. And I've been told, at least for Perks and Corks, that really started to catalyze this more active music scene, because a lot of these people were coming down to see us every Tuesday in a downtown that was still pretty depressed. And there it took off, and they started adding more music. And
so was there? You said there was no. Was there no music at all at Perks before?
On a Tuesday night, they had it maybe like on a Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
So it was so unusual on a Tuesday night,
right?
And the quality, because she's so good, and then we brought Colin, and it just it exploded. It was unlike anything that I've ever experienced, and it was just wonderful.
I mean, Tuesday night is. You said earlier, Perks has live music 6 nights a week. The night that
Tuesday night's the only
Tuesday.
night they don't. Yeah, but back then they only had it on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's crazy that you.
Yeah, and people still talk about it to this day.
Tuesday, yeah.
They'll run into me and they go, "Remember those Wheelhouse Tuesdays?" It was called. Boy, do I miss that! It's very memorable. Yeah.
Rob Jensen used to sit in on occasion, right?
All kinds of people.
Oh,
yeah.
Rob Jensen, I've already talked to, who's going to be on the show. You know, he's lives in New York now. Probably the best guitar. No offense, Gene.
Yeah. Oh no.
No offense, but
Yeah.
Rob Jensen is like the best guitar player I know.
Thor.
Thor.
Yeah, Thor. Let's call him.
Yep.
People know Thor.
Yep, and he's super good at guitar. He's super versatile. He does studio work. He lives in New York. He's got it all. He's looping. He's a spectacular looper.
Yeah.
And
It's interesting. There's a generational slice in this community. Maybe let's think of it like, which is another whole story, the Room Full of Blues. There were these bunch of musicians that I feel that when I got involved with Perks and I got to know the owner, and that's how I became the music manager there and running the open mic, I feel there was an entire group of super talent young people that coalesced at the same time, which leads to my successful open mic those years. And there's a whole litany of them with Will Houlihan and Thor Jensen and Glenn Kensia.
Yep.
And I don't see that right now, as we've talked about that. And that was pretty magical.
Yep.
That's so much talent in this little town, this little area, all at the same time, all of the same generation. Yeah.
Yep. And still Westerly, I mean, as far as I know, if you just want to go out for a night in the town of Westerly, I mean,
now it's
you got the Nick Tap Room is really good, for a small acoustical place. The Malta Barley usually has music. There's
Brazen Hen has it.
Brazen Hen has it. The Venice is a little bit off the beaten path, but they have it.
CC O'Brien's, we always think of across the river. It's still
all
our
the
one
way across
downtown.
the river.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and so I mean, and again, I remember one time one sort of bar owner was kind of complaining to me because when other places open up, they're going to have music, and he was kind of worried that I was going to. I said, you know what? What we want is Westerly to be a destination. It's like if somebody in New London or Warwick or Kingstown just says, I want to listen to music tonight. They don't have to go looking in the paper to see or where to go. It's like, I'm just going to go to Westerly.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be something there.
And every place down there has their own niche, you know?
Yes.
Like Barley's Craft Beer and Pretzels, Perks' Martinis, and a different... Even the music, the music at Perks is a different feel than anywhere else in town.
Right.
And when new places open, I mean, Tapped Apple is not like anything else down
Forgot
there.
about that, yep.
Brazen is not like anything else down there. So...
And if all of a sudden somebody's out there and they they're planning to go to the Malta Barley and it looks kind of crowded and stuff like that, they'll just walk down the street and go into Perks.
Well, I'll tell you, as much as it grew and it was amazing to watch, in the past 2 years, it's taken a quantum leap. It has exploded. I didn't think I would see the level of business in that downtown every Friday and Saturday night like you see now.
Yeah.
It's really incredible, yeah.
So let's talk about, and again...
I wanted to also mention, Doug, I may interrupt, but around that same time, it was in 2009-10, that I moved to downtown after I lost my home, and that really embedded me downtown. And I became sort of a zealot, walking the streets, wanting the music better and more, you know what I mean? And I kind of got spoiled, You would hear me often talk and say, there's not enough support. It could be better. And then I would always get kicked back where people would say to me, come to my town, which is 3 times the size of your town on a Friday or a Saturday or a Thursday. It ain't like this. It ain't like what's happening in Westerly. So I have to keep reminding myself, really look at it, and it's really something. So,
and another shout out for Westerly, which we have to give credit for, is Frets. Fred,
having a music store, yes.
I mean, Frets is if you're a guitar guy that's not familiar with Westerly, Frets is a small little guitar store. If something's broken in your guitar, he can fix it. He's super good, and since Westerly is the home of Guild back in
forgot about that.
in the 70s and 80s, whatever the time was.
Yes,
there are hundreds of guilds running around here that are super good.
Beautiful instruments.
I have 2 of them.
Yep.
And they find their way to frets. So if you're looking for a Westerly guild, you go to frets, you're going to find one. Yeah. On consignment. And they're great.
And they're right-handed.
Right-handed ones.
No lefties.
No lefties. That's true. It's true. In fact, I'm going to go off the track for a second, just because I'm going to throw anecdotal stories in here and there. So I was living in Manchester, Connecticut for a while, and before I moved to Westerly, and that's when I started actually playing guitar. I didn't start playing guitar until I was like 30, which is way late. But after a while, I said, I think I can do this, and so I was playing in this bluegrass band, and I had this acoustic guitar with nylon strings, and my buddy said, you can't play that. Here, I got an old guitar. You can have it, And it was guild. I mean, it was a 1972 guild, and I remember to this day going to the post office and I called up guild and I said, yeah, we could fix it, And setting it and go, wonder where I'm sending it to Westerly, Rhode Island. I wonder where Westerly, Rhode Island is, because I was setting my guitar off in the box, and everything. And then like about a month later, it was done. I went down and picked it up and it was like, this place is kind of neat. And there was some sort of little weird bar across from the guild. It was like the guy said, you'll come back in an hour. It's like, all right. I was like, maybe I'll go over there, have a beer. What was that place? What was that bar across from the? It was the weirdest thing. It had like one table in it.
I don't know.
But anyways, so, and then all of a sudden I found myself in Western Rhode Island.
Yep.
Stupid story. You can edit that out better.
Oh, we don't have to edit it out. We are probably going to split this into 2 episodes though now. So this is probably a good ending point.
Okay.
For the first episode.
So we're going to put a cut in here. This is episode 1. And again, as Ben said, we went a little longer than we expected, so we'll split it in 2. We don't want to make people bored. So Ben, where is people going to be able to find this?
So you can find this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. There's an actual blog page for it through Libsyn, which you can find at b440productions.com, and you can find it on Facebook as well.
And we're going to have, again, this is the first show. We're going to have sponsors. If you're, per chance, you want to be a sponsor, get a hold of us through, where would they, again, through any one of those Facebook sites, maybe?
Yeah, you can do that. You can send an email to b440productions@gmail.com. That's b440productions@gmail.com.
If you want to be a guest, again, send us a note. We can see what we can do. And I think is that about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
See you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye, people.
Actually, wait, before we do that.
What's Gene doing?
Yeah, check out. And, Perks and Corks open mic, first of all, Mondays is great.
Yeah, every Monday, 8:30 to 12. Yep. No pre-sign up, because it's not that crazy that you can't get a chance to play. You just come down and you add your name to the list, and you get.
And if you want to get a hold of Gene also does graphic arts. He does posters and stuff like that. If you want to get a hold of him for something like that, or just he does like
bookings,
all sorts of covers and bands, and knows a lot of people. How would they get a hold of you?
How would they get a hold of me? Well, I have an umbrella name for everything I do. My Facebook page, my Facebook business page, Gmail. So it's Kozmik, spelled in a funny way, Kozmik, Riffs, Riffs, at gmail.com. If you went on to Facebook and you search Kozmik Riffs, it would come up, my personal page and my Kozmik Riffs Music Services page. Yeah, Kozmik Riffs.
All right, cool beans.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you.